I remember the feeling quite vividly, even now. It was a crisp November morning, much like this one, with a low mist hanging over the garden. I had been diligently adding all the right things to my compost heap for weeks: kitchen peelings, fallen leaves, the last of the summer's spent bedding plants. I plunged my fork into the center of the pile, expecting to feel that familiar, satisfying warmth, a sign of life and decomposition, but there was nothing. It was cold, damp, and lifeless. The materials were just sitting there, slowly rotting rather than properly composting. It's a frustration many gardeners know all too well. You follow the rules, yet your heap stubbornly refuses to cooperate. It feels like a failure, a sign that you've got something fundamentally wrong in this most basic of gardening tasks. This cold, stagnant state is a common problem, and it's easy to blame the weather, especially as we head into the colder months. We assume the dropping temperatures outside are mirrored inside our heaps, but the truth is, a healthy compost pile generates its own internal heat, regardless of the season. A truly active heap can be steaming hot even on a frosty day, reaching temperatures of 60 degrees Celsius or more. When a pile is cold, it's not a symptom of winter's chill. It's a sign that the delicate balance of ingredients is off. The microbial life that drives the composting process has stalled, lacking the fuel it needs to get going. It's like a bonfire that has been carefully laid but is missing the match to light it. You might have tried all the usual tricks to kickstart it. Perhaps you've added more green material, like grass clippings, or diligently chopped everything into smaller pieces to increase the surface area. Maybe you've even given it a good turn with a fork, hoping to introduce more air. These are all good practices, of course, and they certainly help. But when a heap is truly cold and inert, these measures often feel like tinkering around the edges. They might cause a brief, fleeting rise in temperature, but the pile soon slumps back into its sluggish state. It's a deeply unsatisfying cycle, and it can make you want to give up on home composting altogether, which would be a terrible shame. The good news is that there is a simple, almost foolproof solution to this problem. It doesn't involve complex formulas or expensive gadgets. It is an entirely natural, organic additive that has been used by gardeners and farmers for centuries. This one ingredient provides the missing spark, fueling the microbial explosion needed to transform your cold, sad pile of garden waste into a hot, thriving ecosystem. It's the secret to reliable, fast composting, and it's something I turn to time and again in my own garden at Long Meadow. It's the single most effective way I know to wake up a sleeping compost heap and get it working as it should, producing that beautiful, dark, crumbly matter that is the lifeblood of any healthy garden. So, what is this miraculous additive? It is nothing more complicated than fresh, nitrogen-rich manure. Specifically, I am talking about manure from herbivores like chickens, horses, or cows. This isn't the well-rotted, crumbly manure that you might dig into your beds as a soil improver. This is the fresh stuff, the potent, strawy material straight from the stable or coop. It might not smell as pleasant, but its power to ignite a compost heap is unparalleled. For years, whenever I've found a heap struggling to get going, a few forkfuls of fresh manure mixed into its core has been the remedy. The effect is often astonishingly quick, with the pile warming up noticeably within a day or two. I can almost hear some of you thinking, but I already add kitchen scraps and grass clippings for nitrogen, and you are right to do so. These materials are indeed sources of nitrogen and are known as greens in composting parlance. However, the nitrogen they contain is not as concentrated or as readily available to the microorganisms as the nitrogen found in fresh manure. Think of it this way. Kitchen peelings and lawn clippings are like kindling, providing a steady but gentle burn. Fresh manure, on the other hand, is like pouring petrol on the fire. It provides a massive, immediate boost of easily accessible nitrogen that sends the microbial population into a frenzy of activity. And it is this activity that generates the heat. It's important to understand that this isn't about adding nutrients for your future plants, not at this stage anyway. This is about feeding the bacteria and fungi that do the hard work of decomposition. These tiny organisms are the engines of your compost pile, and they have a voracious appetite for both carbon and nitrogen. Carbon, found in brown materials like cardboard, woody stems, and autumn leaves, provides their energy. Nitrogen, however, is what they need to grow and reproduce. When there isn't enough readily available nitrogen, their population growth stalls, the decomposition process slows to a crawl, and the heap remains cold. Fresh manure delivers that essential nitrogen in a form they can use straight away. You might also be tempted to reach for a synthetic fertilizer, like sulfate of ammonia, which is pure nitrogen. While this can work to an extent, it is a rather blunt instrument. It provides the nitrogen but lacks the rich diversity of microorganisms that come along for the ride in fresh manure. Manure isn't just a chemical additive, it's a biological activator. It inoculates your compost pile with a whole new army of beneficial bacteria and fungi, bolstering the existing workforce and dramatically speeding up the entire process. It's a living, breathing addition that works in harmony with the natural systems already present in your heap, making it a far superior choice for creating a thriving compost ecosystem. Let's delve a little deeper into the science of it all, in simple terms. At the heart of a hot compost pile is a biological process driven by microorganisms. These tiny workers consume organic matter and, as a byproduct of their metabolic activity, they release energy in the form of heat. For them to work at their best, they need a balanced diet, a bit like us. This diet is often described by the carbon-to-nitrogen ratio, or CN ratio. The ideal ratio for hot composting is somewhere around 25 to 30 parts carbon for every 1 part nitrogen. It sounds terribly scientific, but the principle is straightforward. You need a lot more carbon-rich browns than nitrogen-rich greens. The problem with many home compost heaps is that they become overloaded with high-carbon materials. Think of all the things we add throughout the year. Media group, fallen autumn leaves in garden, shredded paper and cardboard in compost bin, pile of woody prunings, straw stems on compost heap of stock, distribute equally, fallen leaves in autumn, shredded paper and cardboard, tough, woody prunings, and straw-like stems from perennials. These are all wonderful ingredients, but they are very high in carbon. Your kitchen scraps and occasional lawn mowings, while providing some nitrogen, often aren't enough to balance out this carbon overload. This imbalance is the primary reason heaps fail to heat up. The microbes have plenty of energy food, that is, carbon, but not enough protein or nitrogen to build their populations. The system grinds to a halt for want of this key component. This is precisely where fresh manure comes in. It is exceptionally rich in nitrogen. For example, fresh chicken manure has a CN ratio of around 10:1, making it one of the most potent nitrogen sources, or activators, you can find. Fresh horse or cow manure is also excellent, typically sitting around 20:1 or 25:1. When you add this to a pile that is heavy with carbon-rich leaves and stems, you are directly addressing the imbalance. You are providing the exact ingredient the microbes are crying out for. This sudden influx of accessible nitrogen allows the microbial population to explode, leading to a rapid increase in decomposition, and consequently, a surge in temperature. Furthermore, the nitrogen in fresh manure is in the form of ammonia and urea, which are very easily processed by the bacteria. This is why it works so much faster than, say, a thick layer of grass clippings. While grass is a good green material, its nitrogen is locked up in the plant's cellular structure and takes more time for the microbes to access. Manure, having already been through an animal's digestive system, presents the nitrogen in a much more available form. It's the difference between giving your microbes a complex meal they have to break down and giving them a high-protein energy drink they can absorb instantly. This immediate availability is the key to its power as a compost activator. Knowing you need to add manure is one thing, but knowing how to do it correctly is what makes all the difference. You can't simply dump a wheelbarrow of it on top and expect miracles. The key is to distribute it effectively throughout the pile, especially in the core, where the heat generation needs to begin. As a general rule of thumb, a good starting point is to aim for a ratio of about 1 part fresh manure to every 4 or 5 parts of your existing compost material. This isn't an exact science, so don't get too worried about precise measurements. Think in terms of buckets or forkfuls. For every 4 forkfuls of old compost material, add 1 of manure. The best method is to incorporate the manure as you build or turn the heap. If you are starting a new heap with a lot of carbon-rich material, like a big pile of autumn leaves, the lasagna method works beautifully. Start with a thick layer of your brown material, about 20 to 30 centimeters deep. Then, add a thinner layer of fresh manure on top, perhaps 5 to 10 centimeters deep. You can then add another layer of browns, followed by another of manure, and so on, watering each layer lightly as you go. This layering ensures the activator is evenly distributed, giving the microbes access to both food sources right from the start, setting you up for success. If you are trying to revive an existing cold pile, the process is a little more physical. You need to get that manure into the middle of the heap. The easiest way is to turn the pile. Fork the outer, colder material into a new spot, and as you build this new pile, incorporate layers of fresh manure. As you get to the old core, which may be slightly more decomposed, mix it in with the manure as well. This action not only adds the vital nitrogen, but also aerates the entire pile, which is equally important for the aerobic bacteria you want to encourage. If turning the whole pile is too much work, you can also dig several deep holes into the center of the heap with a fork and drop manure down into them. But turning is always better. It's also crucial to manage moisture when you add manure. Fresh manure itself is quite moist, which is helpful, but a large dry pile of autumn leaves or shredded paper will suck that moisture right up. The microbes need a damp environment to thrive. Think of a well-wrung out sponge. As you add the manure and turn the pile, have a watering can or hose pipe on hand. Lightly water the layers as you build them. The aim is for everything to be consistently damp, but not waterlogged. A well-mixed, well-aerated, and appropriately moist heap, now supercharged with manure, has everything it needs to begin heating up rapidly. Adding manure is the step that lights the fire, but to keep your compost heap hot and working efficiently, you need to tend to it. The most important task is turning. After the initial addition of manure, your pile should heat up significantly over the next few days. This intense heat will be concentrated in the core. The outer layers will remain much cooler. By turning the pile, moving the cooler outside material into the hot center, and bringing the hot core material to the outside, you ensure that all the contents get a chance to decompose at high temperatures. This also reintroduces oxygen, which the hard-working aerobic microbes desperately need to continue their work. How often should you turn it? When the pile is at its peak activity, turning it every week or two will keep the process moving at maximum speed. A simple way to check is to use a compost thermometer, or just your hand. Carefully plunge it into the center of the pile. If it's still piping hot, you can leave it be. Once you notice the temperature starting to drop, it's a sign that the microbes in the core have run out of either food or oxygen. That's your cue to get the fork out and give it a good turn, mixing everything up again. This single action can cause the temperature to shoot right back up, reigniting the process. Moisture management remains critical throughout the process. A hot pile will lose a lot of moisture through evaporation, especially on windy or sunny days. You might even see steam rising from it, which is a great sign, but it's also water leaving the system. When you turn the heap, check the dampness of the material. If it feels dry, don't hesitate to add more water. Again, the goal is the consistency of a damp sponge. Too dry, and the microbial activity will slow down. Too wet, and you'll drown the aerobic microbes, leading to a smelly, anaerobic sludge. Covering your heap with a tarpaulin can help retain moisture and heat, especially in very dry or very cold weather. Finally, don't be afraid to keep feeding the fire. As the pile decomposes, its volume will shrink dramatically. You can continue to add new material to the heap, but try to do it with some thought. If you are adding a lot of green kitchen waste, balance it with some torn-up cardboard. If you are adding more dry leaves, consider adding another small dose of manure or some other green material at the same time. By continuing to turn the pile regularly, managing its moisture, and adding new material in a balanced way, you can keep the composting process going for months, constantly breaking down waste and creating that invaluable garden gold. Adopting this one simple practice, the regular addition of fresh manure, fundamentally transforms your relationship with your compost heap. It takes the guesswork and frustration out of the equation. No longer do you have to wait anxiously for months or even years for your pile to break down. Instead of a cold, slow, and unreliable process, you create a hot, fast, and dependable system. This shortcut doesn't compromise on quality. In fact, it enhances it. The high temperatures achieved through hot composting kill off weed seeds and plant pathogens, resulting in a cleaner, safer, and far more beneficial end product for your garden. It's a game changer. Think of the time you save. A cold compost pile can take over a year to produce usable compost. A hot, well-managed pile activated with manure can create finished compost in as little as 6 to 8 weeks. This means you can process more garden and kitchen waste in a shorter period. and you have a constant supply of rich homemade soil conditioner available for your borders, vegetable patch, and pots. It turns composting from a passive, long-term waiting game into an active and incredibly rewarding part of your gardening routine. The effort you put into turning the heap is repaid tenfold by the speed and quality of the result. This method also simplifies the rules of composting. While the carbon-to-nitrogen ratio is still important, manure is a very forgiving ingredient. Because it is so potent, it can help to balance out a pile that is excessively heavy on woody material or autumn leaves, which are common problems for many gardeners. It gives you more flexibility. You no longer need to worry so intensely about getting the mix of greens and browns perfect from the start. A dose of manure can correct imbalances and get a stalled pile moving again. It empowers you to work with the materials you have, rather than worrying about a perfect recipe. Ultimately, using fresh manure as an activator is about working smarter, not harder. It harnesses a powerful natural process and puts it to work for you. It saves you time, reduces garden waste more efficiently, and produces a superior product that will breathe life back into your soil. It turns what can be a source of horticultural frustration into a source of immense satisfaction. Seeing that steam rise from your heap on a cold morning is a truly wonderful sight. It is the sign of a healthy living system and the promise of the dark, crumbly, sweet-smelling compost to come, the true black gold that every gardener desires.